There, I've hit record.
Zoom gale gale gale, zoom gale gale, zoom gale gale gale, zoom gale gale. Echolus lo man eboda lo man echolus. Zoom gale gale gale, zoom gale gale. How about that, Howie? How about that? Is that a Jewish song, Howie? Howie, is that a Jewish song? Oh, listen. I stole his heart.
I just want to.
He's speechless. He stole his heart.
No, I just want to do what you do at the start of the show. Sometimes it's like, what? Are we doing it now? What?
Okay.
I don't know what that. I don't know what that song was, but that's a real banging way to start another record.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, here we are. You know,
have any of you guys bought those flowers that you're supposed to put out this time of year? There's those big, like round. I don't even know what they're called, but they're seen everywhere now.
Yeah, fall bouquet. Yeah.
Big bush.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I forget what they're called. Fall bouquet.
Why are you supposed to buy them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody has them on every porch. You up and down here, you see them.
Well, that's Peterborough, my friend. I live in the inner city.
They're around here too. They, it's just with the fall leaves and everything. They look really warm and nice.
But Dan's point was you're supposed to buy them. Is it like a legislative thing? Is it? Did I miss the memo from the government?
Well, buy them with the $200 that Doug Ford's giving everyone.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Yeah, plus, I got $140 back from the the federal government. They sent me $140.
I know. Every so often, I get those checks too.
I know. I just got one. I was like, "What's this for? For being a good guy?"
No, it's something to do with the carbon footprint or you being a good boy or something.
I am. Well, that's what I'll do. I'll take the Doug Ford money and the $140 from Trudeau, and I'll buy myself some fall flowers.
Yeah.
By the way, you put it over to me and you said talk about something, and then I sang a silly song because I wanted to titillate you, as I often
I was titillated.
And but just off the top, I felt a little melancholy. Listen, I am into the Toronto Zoo many times over the years. I don't know, 10, 12 times. You take the kids, you take your grandkids, whatever. But whenever I was at the zoo, I was always fascinated by the gorilla. There's a big gorilla there. And I just read this morning it passed away. Charles, the gorilla, was 52 years old. Now, it was 2 years old in 1974 when the zoo opened, in its present form. And it was there the whole time. And do you ever go to the zoo and look at it the way gorillas look back at you? It's like, I don't know what the word is. Like there's like human eyes and just the way they look at you. Anyway, I was always fascinated by the gorilla or gorillas. I think there was just this one guy.
Charles the gorilla, yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
Died at heart failure at age 52. Was doing well, and then they just noticed he was acting weird the other day, and they checked him out, gave him some medication. He was on the rebound, and then he just up and died. Anyway, I thought... it was just sad. That and Terry Garr.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say, when you said you were melancholy, I thought, is he going to talk about... Let's save Terry Garr until we start the show.
Okay.
And then you started talking about the zoo, and I'm like, I don't think Terry Garr lived at the zoo. I was like, wait a minute. What's he talking about? I thought maybe you're getting to that point in your life where you're like, I get Terry Garr and Charles the gorilla mixed up. You're like, oh, yeah. I love the gorilla in Young Frankenstein.
The other thing about the gorilla, because, I'm not a big...
You're not a big zoo guy.
No, I'm not a big zoo guy, and the gorilla was one because, they're sort of on their way to being human.
Yeah.
If you believe in evolution.
As opposed to what creationism,
Like that guy, he knew no different. He knew no different.
Yes.
So spent 50 years incarcerated. But the whole idea of being incarcerated isn't right. But he was looked after and fed well and everything. But now he's gone. I don't know whether they replace it, how they do it, how do you get a gorilla, where do they come from, what's it cost, all those things.
Oh, the gorilla shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about the zoo. I'm not really. We didn't have a zoo growing up. There was no. I think there was a wild animal park outside of Moose Jaw with some ratty wild animals. But I don't even know if I've been to the Toronto Zoo. And now I can't go and see Charles because he's dead.
Yeah. When I was a kid, and again, it shows your age, prior to the Toronto Zoo, as we know it, the Metro Zoo out in Pickering or whatever, the zoo used to be in Riverdale, down by the Don River, the Don Valley there.
Yeah.
It was the Riverdale Zoo, and then they moved it up there, uptown. Yeah.
Well, those are some, you know what? That's some good looking back and some good memories.
Freddie P, looking back.
Okay, good segment. Really great segment.
I could give you one of those every day.
Oh, fuck, I can't wait till tomorrow.
Sponsor it.
Sure, let me sell that. Does this not have lyrics? Oh, this is just an instrumental version of your song. Oh, that's too bad.
I think it is. Yeah.
What's that, bud?
I thought it was a Jewish song. I'm sorry, that's why I sang it, but what do I know?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong Jew.
I have memories of, like, being at your wedding and everyone in a circle singing this song.
No, they weren't
singing. Randy did the shoot blot or whatever.
No, they weren't singing this song, you lunatic. Actually, strangely enough, Charles the Gorilla was at my wedding.
Picking up all the chicks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Why don't they have a... Well, this is some bullshit. Because I can't find
a guy
it now.
walking down the street in a trench coat, just having a lovely day, French street somewhere. I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll talk a little bit about... I've got a great clip from Young Frankenstein coming up here. We'll talk a little bit about Terry Garr. I don't have any clips of Charles the Gorilla. But I do have this.
This episode of the legendary Humble and Fred Show is being broadcast to the world from our state-of-the-art Humble and Fred studio in Toronto, from our Brampton facility featuring dew on lush grass, and from Peterborough at Lisa's dining room table next to trendy black sticks in a vase. I'm Dan Duran, broadcasting live from the Julie Mazzoni Zoom Theater, and brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. And now here are two men who, so they aren't so consumed by the orange and gooey U.S. shit show, took up crocheting and text each other their yarn preferences throughout the day. It's Humble and Fred.
I have no idea what that last part was about, but Dan Duran, well done. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's already off to a rousing start. I'm pretty sure we've had this comedian on our program before, Courtney Gilmour. Mm-hmm. Do you not think so? I somewhere in the Sirius XM years, Courtney's coming back on the show. Very interesting comedian, very funny. Has overcome some challenges. Also, the Retirement Sherpa, the OG Sherpa, returns to the Humble and Fred show today. And we're looking forward to that, as always. And Dan Duran, of course, here. Terry Garr passes away at age 79. And it seemed to me, you want to talk about looking back, it seems to me like there was never a time in the 70s into the 80s that, she wasn't in some of my favorite movies. Mm-hmm. Young Frankenstein, Tootsie. Is it Tootsie or Tootsie?
Tootsie, I think.
Tootsie.
Tootsie.
That's the Humble and Fred movie, Tootsie. Fucking. Oh, I don't know why that makes me. I don't. Is it Tootsie? No, it's Tootsie. You know what? She was also in Dumb and Dumber, Mr. Mom. But do you guys remember she was in? I didn't. Excuse me. Remember she was in Close. Excuse me.
Wow.
Oh, bless you.
She was in Close Encounters.
Yes. Really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't. For some reason, I don't remember.
No, either do I. Actually,
I vaguely remember her in that.
Yeah,
she was also in Star Trek, the series.
Was she really?
Yeah, she one of the episodes. She never went back though. She didn't like Gene Roddenberry wanting her dress even shorter than it was. She played an episode with Gary Seven, I think it was. It was an alien that came out. It was going to be a spin-off series that never happened, but she vowed she'd never work it again.
Dan, did you ever have the pleasure, the opportunity to work on a movie or production that she was part of and be in the same room as her?
Not at all, no.
Okay.
Always thought she was great, though. I agree with Howard. I mean, then the young Frankenstein. He's awesome in that.
Yeah, and she was great when she used to go on Letterman, and I always thought she was cute and sweet. And here's one of the more famous scenes from Young Frankenstein when they're discussing the monster is going to have to be big in every way. Have a listen, Dan Duran.
Of course. That would simplify everything.
In other words, his veins, his feet, his hands, his organs would all have to be increased in size.
Exactly.
He would have an enormous Schwanzstücke.
Dan?
Yeah, I remember that. That was...
Oof.
Oof. She says, oof.
That you know what, that brings back memories because during the time of that movie and after that line, people started using that.
Yeah,
using that line.
Schwanzstücke.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
What year would that be? 70 what?
Young Frankenstein was. I have it right here. I have all the answers right here. It was 1974.
Yeah, 74. Wow. Yeah, that's only 50 years ago. She was 29. I was surprised. I didn't think she was that old, to be honest. When I saw she passed away yesterday, 79. I didn't think she was that much older than us.
Well, you think about it.
Why not?
I was 14 in 1974. You were 18. And, she would have been a young ingenue, as they say in the movie business.
Yeah.
Lots of movies, though. Dumb and Dumber. Oh God, remember George Burns movie?
Yep.
And all kinds of stuff. And I hadn't really thought about Terry Garr in a long time. And then I went and looked up some of this stuff. And also, like, what did Terry Garr look like, in her later years? Mm-hmm. And I guess she had some illnesses. And
well, she had MS.
Had MS, yeah. And, yeah.
Well, you know what?
Time is not kind to human beings.
No. But a life well lived.
Yeah.
And in Fred's mind, she's forever young. Mm-hmm. It seems.
Yeah, well, that is true, because 79, I haven't thought about Terry Garr in years and years and years and years, and when I see 79, and again, in your mind, you see her from when you remember her, right?
Exactly, and that's what I was thinking when I looked up. I hadn't thought about her in a long time, and then, to your point, Dan, I just remember Terry Garr as this, cute little kind of, there was a style of actress back in the day, kind of a ditzy, you don't really see that. You don't really see that character as much as you used to. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
And apparently she played Phoebe's, and I didn't remember this. I just saw it in the notes. In the notes that she played Phoebe's mom on Friends. Does that ring a bell with you too?
I don't remember it, but
Oh, no. Yeah, well,
but
no.
you can. My point
now that
is,
you say it, I'm thinking.
Yeah, but you can kind of see that Phoebe was kind of a Terry Garr-esque character, kind of ditzy. That sort of character that you don't really see much anymore. Anyway, and I saw some Letterman clips that she was on the early late night show, and I watched an interview with her from Letterman from the mid 80s, the early part of Letterman's career. You should go and look at it because he's really very raw. Like, it might be the first couple of years of when he got the nighttime show, and I was kind of watching it thinking, wow, it's wild seeing somebody in year 1 or 2 of their careers, just how awkward he was.
Yeah. But people loved him immediately.
I loved Letterman.
Well, that's what I mean, right out of the gate. But because at the time you really didn't appreciate how uncomfortable and awkward he was, because you didn't see how that would evolve. But he was always a bit awkward, though.
True, but all I'm saying is I watched this entire interview, a couple, 3-4 minutes, or whatever it was, and I kept thinking, wow. Because I watched him in those days, and I idolized him in those days.
Yes.
My favorite, I think I've said this to you, my favorite Letterman guest in those days, the middle 80s, was Jay Leno.
Right.
I used to love when Jay Leno would. In fact, I used to, make an appointment to make sure I was home at some point watching Late Night with Dave Letterman, especially when Leno was on. Because I knew they were friends. They seemed friendly. And Leno was like super, super funny. Anyway, that's that. Dan Duran. Unless you... Dan, do you remember the movie Young Frankenstein?
Of course I do. I believe... What year did that come out? 74? Is that
we said 1974.
Yeah, I was an usher at a theater, I think, at that point.
Were you?
In a movie theater. So I saw that a few times as an usher.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Where was I?
I'm sorry, what?
Well, I don't know. You froze up there?
No. I'm listening to you, Dan.
Oh, right. Okay.
I didn't say anything. I was just fascinated by it.
I just remember watching that movie.
Whilst you were ushering.
Whilst I was ushering.
Yeah.
I had Golden Mile Theater in Scarborough there. I had a buddy, Brad Bully, who has since passed.
Aww.
He was an usher. He used to let us in the back door, because you always exited out the back of the theater for whatever reason back then. And he'd let us in the exit.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. Oh, yeah. To save $1.50 or whatever it was to see a movie. Probably not even that. 75 cents. Yeah. So
Dan, after your ushering career, did you ever think of hiring yourself out as an usher, like for weddings, usher for hire? You don't see that as much as you used to back in the old days. I don't think they have ushers anymore. They just have some young kids that work at the theater. No one's ushering you to a seat.
Well, they actually used to have uniforms. Like my buddy Brad Bully had, he wore pants with a stripe down the pant leg and a jacket. They were usher uniforms, and then again with the flashlight.
Did you have to wear a uniform, Dan?
Yeah. I worked for Famous Players. I remember it was a red, we had a red jacket for a while. Yeah. Yeah, I went from an usher in the church and took those church ushering skills.
You did. That was where you got your usher training.
I did. And then I ended up with a job at the Londonderry Cinemas in Edmonton.
God damn it. There. Well, our theater in Moose Jaw was called the Capitol Theater. And then it was a big deal where around the corner, I'm not even sure of the street, might have been Hochelaga, Dan.
No, it was High Street.
High Street, you're right. Where the Studio Theater opened up, it was the first time there was 2 movies in one theater. It was revolutionary. It was a big deal in Moose Jaw.
Yeah. There was another theater in Scarborough called the Elaine Theater. I think it was at Brimley and Eglinton, and my aunt took me to see a Dean Martin, Matt Helm movie, and it was the first time I saw boobs on a screen.
Boobs on a screen, I know.
Bare boobs on a screen. I don't know how I get in. They let me in. Whatever the situation was, and I remember as the boobs sort of sprung out onto the screen, my aunt reaches over and puts her arm in front of my eyes. Fucking funny the stuff you remember.
No, I'm such a horrible person because I thought you were going to say, when the boobs came on the screen, my aunt reached over and...
Howie.
Howie. Why are you going to be that way?
No.
One of my... I don't know what kind of whatever category this is, but... So the Capitol Theater was like my childhood theater, and it was a... And they turned it into, Dan, I'm not sure if you knew this, because you lived in Moose Jaw. They turned a movie theater back in, it was originally a vaudeville type of theater. They made it into a movie theater. And then years later, they turned it back into a performance space.
Oh, really good for them.
Yeah, and because it was one of those things back in the 30s, 40s, whenever, that people would come through Moose Jaw and perform at this.
Oh, it was a theater guild of some sort.
It was the Moose Jaw Theater Guild.
Yeah.
And
there used to be a circuit for all that.
There was a circuit. So years later, after I left Moose Jaw and, started doing this and stand-up and all sorts of nonsense, they invited me back to host a show with Murray McLaughlin and Ian Thomas. I've talked about this show with those two guys, and I opened for them. I hosted the show, but I went out and did stand-up. And it was surreal for me because I remember being a kid in that theater and walking out on that stage. Mm-hmm. Holds like 500 people, and it's kind of looking up in the balcony thinking about, little Jewish boy Howie Glassman sitting up there watching Terry Garr and getting feelings. Mm-hmm. And here I was making all sorts of comments to the people of Moose Jaw. In fact, I was telling stories about how I'd been arrested, and it was quite something.
No,
it was a very interesting.
It's a great moment.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I love stuff like that, man. Wow.
You know what that's part of? You know what that's part of? How, man, looking back.
No.
I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, is that one of those theaters that, because I don't remember the theater itself. I know I was in it, but I don't remember it. Is it opulent ceilings and really high stage?
High stage, and then the beautiful, like an old theater, like the Theater Guild of Theater.
No, I'm sorry, did I miss? Is it still there? Would it still be there?
Absolutely.
In some form?
No, it's it's been restored, and when people come through Moose Jaw now, that's where they perform.
Oh, okay.
It's like a soft seat. It's the same size as like the Oakville Center, whatever that's called. Richmond Hill has one as well.
No, that's fantastic.
Hey, great news. Just want to switch subjects here, if we can. Great news. Dan Duran has informed us just prior to hitting record. Dan informed us that there's a new vax in town.
New vax in town. Yeah.
Dan, what do you got for us?
I'm not prepared to tell you every specific thing about it, but there's a new formulation of the vax, because I didn't know I was going to talk about it. There's a new formulation, and apparently it's available now in Ontario for people. So I've been waiting for it, because there was the old vax that you could get.
Yes.
Now they've got the new formula. So
I've lost track. Is the government still up to no good with those things? Is there something in that vax again that's different than other vaccines that I should stay away from because the government on some level is trying to do something to
Yes, what are they trying to do to us?
Is that all passed?
Yes.
Is that all fucking passed, that shit? Huh?
Okay.
It's the first thing I heard, first thing I thought of the other day with the new vax, and I'm thinking, oh, really? Here we go. But
yeah,
well, I didn't think that, but I'm suspicious that they are starting to plant things. Maybe why can't they ever plant something good? Like with every vax, you get a coupon for Burger King. Like they plant something in you, where all of a sudden you can speak another language. Dan, what were you going to say?
I forget now, because that sounds so. I was just wondering what what are the theories that they do think that the vaccine is doing too.
Well, it's
remember the chip where they could follow.
That's
you.
right. Or have you not? Almost daily, but maybe not. But quite often, somebody dies, and the anti-vax people come up out of the basement and say, "See, that's from the vaccine." Like, I'll bet you somewhere on the internet they'll be like, "Terry Garr died at 79. That's the vaccine. I told you."
Yeah. Although these
what was that noise?
These ones aren't mandated, I guess. So
that's right. These are volunteer.
The reaction will be different. But what I find amusing for all these people, it was just a flu. I knew all along it was just a flu. The fact that they're actually introducing yet another COVID vaccine shows you that it's a strain. It's something a little bit different that we should be aware of. Isn't that awful?
I know. Well, there was a time many, many years ago. This will be under the category of Humble and Fred. Looking back, when you and I first, this goes back, I think, to Kennedy Road, around that time, where they came to work. Maybe it was Young and Dundas, and they said, "Hey, we've got a nurse here, and she's going to give everyone the flu vaccine." And you and I were like, "No, we don't do that." But we didn't. For the longest time, we both of us
absolutely
didn't take the flu vaccine, and then modern day, present day, we have. And when Dan mentioned this, and by the way, Dan, I didn't need a lot of information other than there's a new vaccine. But at the same time, I will go and get, I think for the third year in a row at least, the flu and the COVID.
Yeah,
I'll do a double shot. Yeah,
yeah, you can double shot power.
Double shot immunity.
Yeah, yeah. Back in the, it was distinctly different. I mean, number one, the flu shot back then when I declined was not mandated. Just chose not to do it, and the COVID vaccine, we had a world crisis and we all had to do our part. So it was like, in most situations, no, I'd probably decline a vaccine for something that I may get anyway. But not in this case. It's like, we can recognize the fact that we're in a bit of a pickle here as a society on whole. So, I'll do my part. That's sort of the difference, That's the way it unfolded. If the COVID vaccine had just been another vaccine along the way, I probably, number one, wouldn't have paid much attention or probably even got it.
Well, they really, older people, into our 50s, I still wasn't thinking I needed a flu shot, but, around the time of COVID was probably the first time I ever got one, and I'm still going to get one. I'd mentioned that Spencer, my youngest, for you people who don't know, was in the house for the last couple of days, and she wasn't feeling well, and she had to go around and run a couple of errands, and she came downstairs from her room, what we call the Dan Duran suite. She came downstairs and was wearing a mask, because I guess she was going out to be with some people and didn't want to affect them. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Because it was the first time I'd seen somebody with a mask on in some time. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I have any, great revelation or a point, but it was just interesting how it seemed so common at one. The timeline was, it seems so out of the ordinary and something that happened over in Asian countries, and then it became very common here, and now it's so uncommon that I was like, that's interesting. I hadn't seen anybody. I don't know when the last time you guys. I see the odd person in certain situations wear them.
I'm seeing it more and more. I went and picked up a prescription for Delise the other night at Shoppers, and there was a couple of people in there, workers and people in the aisles. But here's what I think now when I see a mask. And everybody's in, these people who go, why are you wearing a mask? And sort of, criticize, belittle people or make a point of making a point that, people shouldn't wear masks anymore or don't need to. I just think that person's probably protecting someone. They're not wearing it for themselves. There's an elderly person at home. There's a vulnerable person, that they're going to see or something. And I think sometimes that's where it comes from. So you can't jump to those conclusions on why people are wearing masks, whether, they're scaredy cats or they're overreacting or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's I don't know if the reaction may have been at one time that, those people are a bunch of pussies. I was at a cardiologist's office on Monday, a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. Found out some great news about my heart. Apparently it's fine. Mm-hmm. But it's a pretty big office. There's lots of different...
That's what they said about Charles the gorilla.
That's right. In fact, it's weird because he was in there on Monday. He looked fucking great. I'm anyway. Hey, Chuck, what's up? He's like, I feel fine. Look in my eyes. They seem so humane. But it's a big office. Lots of doctors, lots of people doing tests. And I had a follow-up test to the stress test I had a couple weeks ago. And I noticed some people wearing masks, but not everybody. Whereas, 3 years ago-ish, everyone in that office, patient and, provider would be wearing a mask.
Yeah, but even back then, most of that was mandated. You had to. It wasn't your choice.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And you're right. When I see people out and about wearing masks, it's usually in a pharmacy or something. Mm-hmm. Or they're working somewhere where they see a lot of different people over the course of a day.
Yeah. Like say you have your mother's 90 years old and she lives in a home and you go there a few times a week. So they may say at the home, geez, when you're out and about, could you just watch it? Because these people are vulnerable to viruses and stuff. So it's like, yeah, of course I would do that. You know?
By the way, I found, hopefully, one that has lyrics. Hold on, here we go.
Zoom, 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 golly, 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 zoom, golly, golly, zoom, golly, golly.
And to your point, this is not specifically a Jewish folk song. It's actually an Israeli folk song. So, be careful. Because, you don't want to support an Israeli folk song. You might be canceled. There was a...
I don't know where I first heard that, and it stuck with me all my life, right back to when I was a child. It must have been some kid in my class or something of that heritage. I don't know.
Maybe you heard Terry Garr sing it in a movie or a musical. Tomorrow is tomorrow Halloween?
Yes.
Tomorrow's Halloween. Dan, are you going to be at the trailer, or are you going to be at the matrimonial home?
I don't know yet, but I might be. More likely I'll be here. I
thought you would be for sure today at the trailer, because it is going to be like right now. It's 19 degrees here in this city.
Yeah, I know. Right after the show, I'm going up.
Okay, because I think this is a good day for you to go up.
Yeah. I got some stuff I got to do up there, so I'm planning on it all week.
Yeah,
because yesterday it was a bit rainy.
It's weird. So, it's weirdly warm here right now. It's I don't know what it is in the PDOT, but it's 19 degrees in the city, heading for a high of around 22. Feels like 24 this afternoon because it's going to be humid.
Wow. Isn't that something?
Yeah, man. Huh. I got shorts on. I'm wearing shorts.
I'm wearing shorts right now as well.
Yes, because I like wearing shorts around the house, but it's also...
So do I.
Well, we have that in common.
Yeah. You feel all free.
I know, feel free. I don't like to wear a belt.
Sometimes I'm down in my rec room right now. Some nights I come down here to watch the hockey game or something, and, you end up lying on the couch. Well, if I'm wearing jeans, I think, I feel restricted. So I just take my pants off and lay them on the love seat and lay here in my underwear.
That's great.
And if Delise comes down to ask me, I want a cup of tea or something, she always just shakes her head. I'm laying there in my underwear and my pants.
What, like just full on, like no blanket? You're just like hanging out in your underpants?
Yeah. And I take my pants off right in the rec room. Well, you can do that.
Well, of course you can.
Nobody else lives here, so.
But I mean, like I take my pants off when I go into the chair because I don't like to have the restriction of pants.
Yeah.
When I go in the massage chair, I definitely take my pants off.
Right. You need movement.
That's right. Dan, when you were living here,
look at the look on Dan's.
I know. Dan, when you were living here and I wasn't around, I know, of course, I had a no Dan Duran feet clause in the massage chair. Did you and since you don't wear underwear, did you ever take your pants off in my chair and just raw dog your giant hammer?
No.
Okay.
No, because I respected the leather that you have there.
No.
You were so worried about the feet.
Well, I don't want people's feet.
Howard, if he did that, his dick would end up in the foot massager.
That's right. Did you ever make love to the foot part of the massage chair? Did you? Dan, you can tell us.
No, it's a great chair, though. I love the chair.
Well, the chair misses you, and so do I.
Yeah, I miss him.
Okay, well, we've got a couple minutes before. Dan, will you be preparing a wonderful news story?
Yeah, there's all kinds of news going on, so I'm going to put it together and bring it to you.
Well, here's a story that, just a follow-up from a couple days ago. We were all up in arms. People were freaking out about this comedian, Tony Hinchcliffe, who has become even more famous now because he said some, remarks at this Trump rally on Sunday at Madison Square Gardens. By the way, the Kamala rally last night, close to 75,000 people. And while it was going on, Trump was on Hannity saying, no one's going to that rally.
I know.
He's like, no, they're busing people in. No one's at the rally. Like, the fact that he still focuses on numbers of people at rallies is really, that should be reason enough to not vote for the guy.
Yeah. The other significant thing last night, Biden was doing an interview.
Oh, that's right.
An online interview or something. Did you see him? It did look a bit scary. And then they asked him about the Puerto Rico thing and Tony Hinchcliffe. And then it came out of his mouth, garbage. His supporters are garbage. Now, you don't have to be fucking Einstein to figure out he was talking about the people at the rally. He wasn't talking about a blanket. But, he misspoke. I mean, but anyway, that whole side, they're all over that right now.
No, I know they are.
Yeah. But, so they've spent the last year saying he's incognitive, he's senile, he doesn't know what he's saying, right?
That's right.
The whole year they've been that side has been accusing him of that. But now because he blurted that last night,
all of a sudden
everything he says, all of a sudden, he's an evil man. And he knows what he's saying.
And not to delve into the whataboutism of it all. Mm-hmm. Just think of the vile things that this fucking... And by the way, this is not a Trump thing.
No.
But think of the vile, vitriolic things that have come out of Donald Trump's mouth about the Democrats. Just think about it. And here's this doddering old grandpa who just say, that garbage. And they fucking, you know what? They really are the suckiest. They really can't take it. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. But we can table that. But somebody that I respect, that you respect, I can speak for Dan too. Jon Stewart's doing his thing, and he...
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, I'll just have a little clip of it where, Jon Stewart... And I get this. He's saying, you brought a guy to a rally who is known for doing these type of jokes. If you saw Tony Hinchcliffe at a comedy club or a concert, you wouldn't even think anything of it. I wouldn't. It's a joke. That floating pile of garbage out in the middle of the ocean, I think it's Puerto Rico. But it's in the context of a rally at a think about that. Biden said his supporters are garbage. This guy said Puerto Ricans are garbage.
Right.
But here's a little clip of Jon Stewart and his thoughts.
Did I really? I don't know who's AI, me or that guy.
Yeah, he's looking at a picture of himself.
Now, obviously, in retrospect, having a roast comedian come to a political rally a week before Election Day and roasting a key voting demographic, probably not the best decision by the campaign politically. But to be fair, the guy's really just doing what he does. I mean, here he is at the Tom Brady roast a few months ago.
The great Jeff Ross, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff is so Jewish, he only watches football for the coin toss. Gronk, you look like the Nazi that kept burning himself on the ovens. Kevin is so small that when his ancestors picked cotton, they called it deadlifting.
Yes, of course. Terrible. Boo, yes. There's something wrong with me. I find that guy very funny. So, I'm sorry.
So, and I was interested to see that story. I found it came out. I think Julie sent it to us, our political correspondent. But the whole point of it is that out of context and in context.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's it. I mean, I said that to Doll the other night when we were talking about it. I said, I think I said it on Monday. I mean, from my perspective, and you'd know better than me, in certain situations, that stuff flies. It actually does. I mean, it's a style of humor, but not in that forum, not in that situation. One other thing I would say about Tony Hinchcliffe, I buy all that stuff, but he's a big Trump supporter. Why wouldn't he think that might be controversial or damage the...
I don't know.
That's the one thing that goes through my mind. It's like, okay, you really love Trump and you're a MAGA guy and everything. How do you think getting up in that situation and saying that stuff, it's going to do anything but be called into question?
No, that's a very good point. And in typical, here's the thing: it happened, and in typical Trump style. And by the way, our guest is standing by, so we'll wrap this up, Dan. But in typical Trump style, it happened at his rally. He never takes. This is what I think would be bothersome to a lot of people. Rather than say, you know what, that in retrospect that probably wasn't the best idea, and of course this man's, his views don't represent anything that, I believe. Like, he just can never walk anything back. He has to disavow it. I don't know how. He's a comedian. I don't know anything about it. I didn't. It's always, I didn't hear about it. I don't know anything about it. Rather than just say, I take responsibility. It was my rally. We shouldn't have had this guy at the rally. That's not how we feel about Puerto Ricans. Why is that so hard?
Who knows? But, even probably, I'm reluctant to say equal, but that guy, that radio host, that creepy guy attacked Hillary Clinton, like way offside. Like, I mean, come on. And the other guy, then there's this other little... Why are they all creeps, these people?
No, I know.
Why are they all creeps? And then that guy that referred to, her pimp, suggesting she's a prostitute.
No, I know.
Being Harris, and the other person comes up and calls her the Antichrist. And
it's wild.
And that despicable Tucker Carlson with that laugh. Like, how does that help
I know.
You? How does that help you? Having that creep on the stage. Like, I would want that guy so far away from me just from a creep factor.
Yeah, but remember, the 47% that, or whatever it is, 48% that support Trump, they love those guys.
Yeah, it's wild.
We got Dan, come on back when you have some news and such. We're going to talk to
Danny, come on back.
Come on, Dan. Come
on back, Dan. We leave the light on.
Okay. But we're going to get to Courtney Gilmour here in a second. But first, let's have a chit-chat about this.
Yeah, the Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, Canada's #1 group benefits plan for small business. Howard referred to his heart and that, he's almost back to normal. Although, will he ever be normal?
Oh, what do you mean almost back to... Yeah, well, the surgeons are still working on it.
Anyway, that heart thing started down in the United States of America, and he was under the Chamber Plan umbrella and saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just another example of how the Chamber Plan can work for you. Yeah, it's for small business, be it 1 to 100 employees. Check it out today at chamberplan.ca. See how you can become part of the Chamber Plan. There's dental, there's prescriptions, which we all take advantage of. At humbleandfredradio.com. They have therapies, the Teladoc system, an HR component, mental health. They cover it from top to bottom and do a great job of holding the line on premiums, which is very important for small business. Take the time today. Check it out. The Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, chamberplan.ca.
Just before we get to Courtney Gilmour, our guest this morning, later on when Fred Man is talking about Bodog, I'm going to bring up something that I read this morning that I thought was fascinating from the world of sports. Mm-hmm. A kind of a Canadian football connection that I read about. I'm not sure. I mean, now do you know what I'm talking about? The Twins?
I think I know what you're talking about. The Twins, yeah.
The Twins. Yeah. But we're going to talk about Bodog and some football later. But first, what does Bodog have to say for themselves?
Looking for a way to relax after a long day? Come on. Tired of being notified by life's bells and whistles?
Yeah, I'm going to need that draft tomorrow.
When you're ready to stop working so hard, you know it's time to play. Yes. It's easy to find your next favorite game at Bodog.net. Play free casino games, check out our beginner's guides, and get poker tips. Visit Bodog.net today. #Make a play.
I'm pretty sure that this won't be our next guest's first time on the program, but we're old men, so it could be. It could be your fifth time. We don't know. Time, the way our brains work these days. But please welcome back a Juno-nominated comedian, television writer, Canada's Got Talent contestant, who has just recorded her latest comedy album, an hour of material that explores the themes of dealing with other people's expectations of her as a triple limb amputee as well as her own. Please say hi to the very talented and kind Courtney Gilmour. Hello, Courtney.
Hello, Courtney.
Hi, how are you guys?
We're great.
Very
Can you just turn your mic up a little bit? I think we're going to need a little bit more there.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I think this is my second time with
I think
you guys.
so, too.
Been a minute though, a really long time though.
Well, you know what it was? We did a show on Sirius XM Canada Laughs for about 5 years, and I think during that time, we were probably on that.
That's right. Yes. Well, thank you for having me back.
What are other people's expectations about you and the fact that, and maybe you can remind everyone some background of being a triple amputee.
Doesn't that sound so Olympic? Triple amputee.
It sounds like you know what it sounds like to me. You've over-indexed in the amputee world. It's like a double, fine. What about a triple?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a unicorn in a lot of areas for that, as far as that goes. But you'll hear more about that on the album. But as far as expectation goes, I mean, I think that like disabled people kind of deal with the expectation of being extraordinary, like having to achieve great things, literally like being in the Olympics, being an athlete, doing things that are very ambitious, which it's cool if you do that, but I'm a lazy person and I don't want to. And I don't want to learn a sport. I don't want to inspire you. I just want to live my life and watch Netflix and just be average, And so I have a lot of material about how, people meet me and they think that I must be in some sort of like, Paralympic extracurricular thing where I have some kind of extraordinary talent, and I don't. I'm a stand-up comedian.
So what is your history with your disability?
My history with me and my disability go back a long ways.
That's right.
What they call congenital. So congenital amputee is someone who is born missing limbs, or the limbs were severed in the womb. Something happened that I don't remember, but it's since birth. So I've lived my entire life, missing both hands and my right leg. And so that's been, it's interesting to other people, but for me, it's just, this is how I've always lived. And so to me, it's normal. So
that's a great point. It's interesting to other people, but if it's been your whole life for as long as you've been alive, to you, it's just like, well, this is how I am. Just when we were finishing our little commercial reads there, and I was watching you were drinking a coffee, and this is going to sound stupid, but I'm like, oh, so you can drink a cup of coffee. Well, of course you can.
Oh, yes. Hey, if you're impressed by this, sign me up for a book tour. I'll do it. holding basic items. I can do that if you're into it. But people have so many questions about very basic things. And I get it. It's not about like shaming people for having the curiosity. But there's a lot of humor in some of the questions I do get. And so,
So, your passion for comedy, were you described, like, would your parents say she was a funny kid? Like, right from a young age?
Okay, I think that's a great question because I think I actually landed on comedy a bit accidentally. And I think out of my very big family, I'm not the person that everyone would have assumed would go into comedy. I don't think it's... Okay. I was funny, but not in like a loud, gregarious, life of the party way. It was more like little comments to me and my friends, or little jokes sort of quietly under my breath. I've always had a good sense of humor, but I do think my parents probably saw that I was able to make jokes and laugh about me being an amputee quite early on, for sure. I grew up on Monty Python, like you have to.
Courtney, having I'm not sure if we've ever worked together, but having had the same experience of doing stand-up for the first time. And it's a lot, for those of us that ended up doing it. It's like the first time is usually pretty great, and you do well, and you don't really bomb till about the second or third or fourth time. But your very first time, it must have had. And again, if this sounds, like I'm over explaining it, I apologize. It must have had a lot to it, or did it, or did you have to explain it, or do you have to explain it to everyone every time you get up on stage?
Yeah, for sure when I first started out, and my first couple of times I would say, all of my material was about not having hands, and definitely it definitely felt like there was a pressure, like right out of the gate, you got to get this going, especially because your first time, you've never felt so on display as that moment. Yeah. Like, it's very jarring. And so yeah, the second I hit the stage, I'm like, okay, just need to explain what's going on here. And, you know, that was actually helpful for me to be able to write going forward and learn how people responded very fast.
But let me just follow up. So, because part of what you have to do as a comic is make people feel comfortable, but there's going to be an uncomfortable feeling looking at you because, again, as you've explained, it's no big deal to you, but to a lot of people, you might be the first triple amputee they've ever seen on a stage holding a microphone.
Yes, totally. And I mean, and that kind of discomfort, I still get that sometimes. I'm a lot better with just being able to sit with that and allow it and then be able to, you know, say something that breaks the bubble. But I had to learn that really early. But it also helped me write really quick jokes. That was helpful. So, yeah.
And comics travel a lot. Do you? And what does that pose any problems? You know, hotels and on the road and in trains and buses and all that comics have to do.
Yeah, I do travel a lot, and no, I have such an easy time because, listen, when people ask me about, like, do I ever take advantage of the perks of disability? Only in airports, okay? That's when you gotta shine in the airport. When people are letting you breeze through, you gotta just do it because airports are, complicated and take up so much time. I'm like, listen, if these people want to treat me like I'm a child, I'm gonna... Yes, please. Can I board the plane first? Like, you got to do
That's
it.
funny.
So,
why not?
I have a great. People want to travel with me so that they can get to the front of the line quicker. You know.
So, Courtney, how long? Just give me some perspective. How long have you been doing it?
Professionally, 10 years. I started a little bit before that, just dabbling around. I lived in Windsor, Ontario, so there wasn't very much of a scene there when I started. But yeah, about 10 years.
So after 10 years, if you know, I'm not sure. Are you still do any? Are you with Yuck Yucks? Or are you independent? And what are you?
I'm currently independent. I'm signed with Comedy Records. Do you know Comedy Records, Barry? And yeah, I'm doing a lot more touring this coming year. And this is my second album, so things are.
Well, the reason I ask is if anyone that came to your taping at Comedy Bar. Yeah. And by the way, Courtney's record or album, whatever people call it, her digital content is available. It's available at CourtneyGilmour.com. It's spelled GILMOUR.com. When people come to see you, obviously do a taping like that, everyone in that crowd is familiar with who you are. When you go and tour, people book you into a room.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some material that explains what's your disability, but does it get tiring? Like, do you want to just write jokes about life, or is it always have to have a slant through the prism of your being a 3-limb amputee?
I know, the prism or the prison. It's hard
how do you like that?
Sometimes. I'm trapped. I know. Well, you know what? That is a joke on. It's funny. You're accidentally hitting on a lot of jokes that are on this album that I talk about, because this album is a lot more of like personal reflections about that. And yeah, I get tired of it for sure. I do feel like I'm starting to head into a direction in my career where I do have a little bit more leeway in expanding my content and my material. But yeah, a lot of the time I feel trapped. I'm like, I want to weigh in on all this other stuff, but but I have to talk about the message that I got from a guy who asked me if he could lick my arm. That's too weird.
What? Someone DM'd you and went, "Hey, Courtney, I'm not sure if you're into this, but can I lick one of your stumps?"
Many people.
Really?
So. Wow.
There's a category of people who are very particularly interested in that.
Yes, a fetish. So the album's name is called Wonder Woman, which, you know, yeah, you're a Wonder Woman. What was the name of your first album?
The name of my first album was Let Me Hold Your Baby. And that was a different vibe.
Right.
And Wonder Woman, there's a joke on Wonder Woman about how people call me Wonder Woman, and so that's why I titled it that way. But yeah.
I mentioned that. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I know what I was going to say, so you go first.
No, so yeah, outside of your disability, what about What comics do you like? Like who inspired you? I know that's like a standard textbook question, but really, I find that interesting.
I mean, and it's good to be reminded of that, though, too. I was and am a huge fan of Sarah Silverman. I really love Sarah Silverman. I just love what she does, and I think she's such a thoughtful person, just the persona that she presents, and I love her humor. And so I've always really loved her. And then I'm a big John Mulaney fan. I think he's a sharp writer. And
I love both of those.
Yeah, and then not necessarily stand-up, but I grew up watching, like, Steve Martin and Martin Short be goofballs, and I just goofy, absurd type of humor, and I'm also, influenced by that because, there are a lot of serious topics to cover within disability, but also, like, let's just... Can we be
funny?
Can we be silly?
So where I was going to go with it is, I don't know how long ago you were on Canada's Got Talent. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And how far along you got?
Yeah, I made it to the end, baby. The finale. I was a finalist, and it was really fun. I did it in 2021. It was like their first season back after, I think they did it like 10, 12 years ago. And now they're cooking. Now they're still going. They've got Shania Twain on the panel. I did it sort of peak pandemic, so it was a bit weird for me. There are clips of me on YouTube. My second performance, where they've edited it really nicely. I'm telling jokes to Jason Priestley, who was a guest judge, and there's like they pan to like an audience and everyone's laughing. There was no one there. It was COVID protocol.
That's crazy.
It was an empty theater, so there was a lot of editing, but it was actually very fun.
If you don't mind, I've got a little clip for people who aren't familiar with Courtney Gilmour's brand of humor. Here's a clip from the finale. Okay. The live finale of Canada's Got Talent.
Hello, judges. Hello. Hi, Simon. Thank you for coming all this way just for me.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it. So I'm currently single right now, but I can't tell if I'm looking for love or if I'm just looking for someone to help me out around the house, I'm 5'0", no hands. At this stage of my life, it's like, I think I just want someone to tie my hair back, reach a few things, and then get out. If my boyfriend goes away for the weekend, it's just like, do I really miss the love of my life, or do I just miss that peanut butter on the top shelf? It's hard to tell.
And this is great, Seth. So you got to the finals, and what happened?
I didn't win. That's what happened. But it was, it's as a comedian, and whether it's Canada's Got Talent, every comedian at some point does like a million competitions, like contests, whether it's small scale or large scale. That one I didn't expect to get all the way to the finale. So I was just happy to be there. You're performing with like ventriloquists and magicians and singers, and you don't know how far a stand-up is going to go on a show like that. So I was just happy.
Was it intimidating? I'm watching that set. It's a big theater, and there's all those judges. Was it intimidating looking at Simon Cowell?
You know what? Yeah, what's so funny is I was very nervous for that set, and it definitely comes through. But I was like, it's just a big thing, and also, I hadn't seen. We were in lockdown for like the whole time before that. I hadn't like talked to people or been in front of people in like 2 years, and so it was just a lot. It was overwhelming. But Simon had recently. I didn't know this, but he had recently broken his arm, his wrist, and his hand was in a full sling thing, and I almost made a joke about it, but I was like, that could go sideways if I make a joke about it on live television, so I'm not going to do that. But just the fact that we were both handicapped on the show, but it was fun. It was a good time. It was definitely intimidating, but I was having a blast the whole time, so I was just happy to be there.
Yeah, he was in a motorcycle accident or something.
Yes, I know, and also that's a privilege for me as a person who was born this way. I don't have any trauma attached to it, so I have to be careful just like asking other people what happened to them. Like that's a tragic thing, I don't doesn't want to talk about his motorcycle accident, on.
So, and who won? What kind of an act won?
A singer from Quebec.
Okay.
French singer, yeah.
And I was going to say, it was Canada has Got Talent. So what was the grand prize? Like a mattress or something?
No, it's $1 million.
Oh, was it really for Canada? Oh, wow.
It's $1 million now, but at the time it was only $100,000. So I didn't miss out on the million.
Yeah, you see, when Fred and I were young, I mean, they've Canadian game shows have come a long way, because when we were young, if you won a Canadian game show, you got like some chocolates and a mattress and some canned goods.
You got the mattress, but not the box spring, that type of thing.
They gave away canned goods, but no, these big American shows that have come to Canada, they're giving out like major prizes. Did you get? I was actually going to ask you, if you don't mind, about the money. Is it a good gig just getting on the show, getting to the final? They got to be paying you something.
They don't pay you, unless they've changed anything. I wasn't paid. However, I got a lot of like the free. All their sponsors are giving you products. So I got like espresso machines and Samsung tablets and stuff like that. And then the exposure really boosted my bookings. Yeah, especially my corporate bookings. I did a lot of corporate stuff, and still I'm getting corporate stuff from it. So I can't complain.
Like, do you do like corporate stand-up, or do you do or do you have kind of a funny keynote overcoming?
No motivational. I'm really not kidding, because I'm very lazy. I don't have anything to motivate.
You'd think that would be a natural for you, be like, hey, if I can do it, anyone can. Now give me some money.
I know that is true. But people will pay for corporate stand-up too, and I'll just do longer sets. And I think I have a positive, sunny disposition, and people, I can coast on that.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't listen. It's true that you do. You won't last very long on this program, but with other people, the record is called, or the record. Go ahead.
No, I would just. Right. I was just going to ask about, the most popular probably, or the most notable comic this week is Tony Hinchcliffe. Did you hear that? What are your thoughts? Do you know him, or?
Do you know you know of him? He has that show, Kill Tony.
Of course. Yeah, I know him. Yeah, I don't know. I love just sitting back and not having an opinion about these things. Like, I went to my waxing appointment last night, and the girl who waxes my body was like, do you know Tony Hinchcliffe? I'm like, I got to get out of this conversation. I handle this. I'm just kind of, I don't know.
But what about you as a comic? Are you ever involved in, there's a lot of roast battles at the sort of club level. Do you ever do them?
Yeah, I have. I've done. I did the show Roast Battle on CTV. I think it's not. I don't know if they're still doing it. Yeah, I'll do roast battles. I think it's fun. It's a fun challenge. I like. I think. Yeah, they're fun. I like roast battles.
Well, listen, you're a very nice person, and Wonder Woman is the latest hour of material that Courtney has spit out, and it's been too long. Appreciate your honesty and your candor and what a nice person you are. Go check out more Courtney things at Courtney. I'll spell that for you too. COURTNEY Gilmour, GILMOUR.com. Courtney, what a pleasure to see you again, and all the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, you're very much appreciated. Thanks for coming up and doing our little silly show. And look at us now. We're not aging well. Look at this is all we got. All right, Courtney, take care of yourself.
You too.
Thank you, my friend. There's Courtney Gilmour. They didn't really have roast battles when I was still doing stand-up. Like, they had roasts when you and I were a kid, like the Dean Martin roast and shit like that. Mm-hmm. But it's a whole genre. You should check it out. It's actually pretty cool. Even when I say at the club level, like Spencer's done them. They have they're regular. They have them as part of stand-up comedy culture now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, people say some terrible things to one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh no, I know. I've seen some of them. What was the... I can't even remember now. Over the years, when they... Some of the people they've roasted and some of the things that have been said. There was a whole, what was it, Justin Bieber? They did.
Oh, yeah, Comedy Central did a series of them, yeah.
Attacking. Yeah, anyway, I can't even remember. I remember watching all those.
Well, a couple people that came out of them, Anthony Jeselnik, who is really, really funny. I love him. He sort of started, that kind of broke him on the Comedy Central roast. Same with Nikki Glazer and a few others. But it was nice catching. Can you imagine, though, I just remember that first time doing stand-up and how nervous I was and how exciting it was. And I didn't have to explain to people when I walked on stage why I only had, no hands and one leg.
Yeah, and that's why I asked about the history, because I forgot. When I hear the word amputee, I actually think of amputation, but she explained how it works. It worked with her. And there really is something to be said about being born that way, because really she knows no different. And it's as ridiculous as that sounds, it's true. She explained that when you're born that way, you know no different. So the adjustment, I guess in some ways is easier, but it can't be easy living your life that way.
Well, the word you just used is what she never really had to do. She never had to adjust to it, because there was no adjustment. She was just born that way. Although it's made me laugh that there's what is this world? The fact that guys will, message her about wanting to do things with her limbs. Like, it's just like, why can't like, just stop.
Well,
enough already.
You're a foot man.
Yeah, okay, but that's, I like feet, but I mean, I don't, I'm not like a stump man.
It's not like you've messaged anyone, can I lick your feet? Have you?
Well, not that many. Not that many people. Okay, listen, we've got Tim Niblett. We got to move on. Where did Tim go? He left. I thought he was standing by. Okay. Well, then why don't we do this?
I'm sure he'll be back.
Tim just popped in there, and now he popped away. So let's do this. Let's talk about some other people. You go first. I'll talk about Kelsey's in a second.
Whether you're a sports bettor, horse racing fan, a poker, casino player, Bodog, your number one source of online gambling entertainment, from their industry-leading odds, world-class sportsbook, to their fully loaded casino and racebook, they've been providing Canadian players with an unparalleled gaming experience since 1994. Hey, did you see that last night? The Dodgers could have wrapped up the World Series, but they lost. The Yankees thumped them. So for Game 5 tonight, the Dodgers are now the underdog. They're expecting the Yankees to come back and make it a tighter series. Minus 147, the money line on the Yankees tonight. So there you go. The World Series through Bodog.
Yeah, we'll get to that NFL story maybe after, Tim. But also, did you see the Yankees fans pull the ball out of... I only saw the clip. It looked like a Dodger outfielder went to catch the ball.
Yeah.
And then...
Mookie Betts. Yeah.
And Mookie Betts.
Mm-hmm.
Bodog should sponsor him. But what did they do? The fans grabbed the ball and took it out of his glove?
Well, he caught it just over the fence or the partition where the fans were, and the fan actually grabbed his glove. So he catches it, and it's, he's sort of vulnerable. The fan grabs the end of the glove, separates it, and pulls the ball in.
Did it still count as an out?
Yes, but,
okay.
He was ejected, the fan, right away.
Well, good.
And I don't know why fans do that, because more often than not, it hurts the home team or the team that you do it for more than helps. You know what I mean?
No, I know. But you know what? It's New York. Let me tell you a little bit about a place called Kelsey's. The original Roadhouse has awesome deals every day. For instance, how about the lunch trios that they have? Every day, lunch trios start at $14.99. They got happy hour twice a day, $5 drinks. They got half-price wings. Coming up Thursday, you get half-price wings. And they're doing nice things for others. I'll tell you what they're doing at Kelsey's. It feels good to give back. They've partnered with the Boys and Girls Club of Canada to give back locally. Visit your local Roadhouse and buy a $5 kids card, and you'll get three meals free. All proceeds to BGC Canada. So what are you waiting for? Join your friends at Kelsey's, the original Roadhouse. Visit kelseys.ca or check out Kelsey's Restaurants for details. I just got a note from Tim, and apparently there is a technical difficulty there.
Oh.
The twin stories, two Canadian identical twin brothers. One that plays for Philadelphia, safety Sidney Brown, and Cincinnati Bengals running back Chase Brown. I would have thought this was history, period, but apparently it's not the first time it's happened. It's just the first time it's happened with Canadians.
So identical twins have played against each other in the NFL prior to this?
This is what it seems like in this story.
Okay.
Or maybe I'm wrong. It says, on Sunday, the Brown brothers from London shared some NFL history. Maybe it is NFL history. Anyway, it was very interesting that and they're identical twins, but they play different positions.
Mm-hmm.
One of the brothers is a running back, and the other one is a safety.
Where are they from?
London, Ontario.
Okay. Well, that is significant, is it not?
Well, and then there's a correction at the bottom. It says, this article has been updated to clarify the Brown brothers are the first Canadian-born twins to play against each other in the NFL. So maybe that's why I got mixed up. I got mixed up because...
but there's twins and there's identical twins.
Well, apparently it's happened before.
All right.
What are the chances?
What are the chances?
This is what I wanted to say. What are the chances that you're both so talented? Well, I guess if one is, the other one would be.
Mm-hmm.
You think about it.
Yeah, I often think of, there's situations like on the Leafs. There's William Nylander who, flirts with being an NHL superstar, and then his brother Alex Nylander, who plays for the Marlies and doesn't look like he's ever going to really be an NHL player. What that's like, two brothers, and they're not twins, but I'm just saying two brothers close to the same age, play the same sport, and one is really good and the other one not so good.
Yeah.
What that's like. Does the older brother share his fortune with his younger brother?
And not to mention siblings in sports, but how many, father, sons, mother, daughters, where, like, an example would be Jack Nicklaus, before he was a Trumper. He had a couple of sons that were high level.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of his sons, I can't remember which one it was, got his PGA Tour card, but that, just was never quite good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Hull, the Hull family, and their son was a superstar.
Yes. And Bobby Hull was a superstar, and Dennis Hull was a very good player himself, his brother. He wasn't of Bobby status, but he was a very good hockey player.
No, but he was a big, he was a well-known player.
And
played
funny
for,
as shit, man.
Yeah, really
funny as shit.
Didn't Dennis play for Chicago as well?
Yep.
But these two brothers from London, Ontario, pretty cool, though.
Mm-hmm. The ones I often think of, too, is Wayne Gretzky and his brother. I think it was Brent or Brett. Whatever his brother. Brett. How tough that must have been. Because I had heard stories, like if you saw those two kids, like as teenagers or whatever, on an ice just playing shinny or something, the one looked just as good as the other.
Mm-hmm.
But in an NHL situation, in a game situation, the men are separated from the boys, and it's just one, the same parents, same genes, same sort of hockey talent, but one has just got something that the other doesn't.
Well, that's
quite interesting.
Again, that's like there's lots of stories like that. I've told you the story of growing up in Moose Jaw. That's where I'm from. And Clark Gillies, who became a very, well-known and very, very accomplished NHL hockey player, won 4 at least Stanley Cups with the New York Islanders. Yep. But the story around Moose Jaw is his brother Doug, who was a guy I knew from the golf course, was as good an athlete, if not better. Better hockey player, better baseball player, better golfer. But there's something about those people that, that just there's something that's missing in the other, where you'd see them just as you described. You see them playing around town and think, oh, that Doug guy, he's the one that's going to the NHL.
Yeah. Another one, another spin on this that is interesting. John Tavares plays for the Leafs, $77 million contract over 7 years with the Leafs. His uncle, John Tavares, is arguably the best lacrosse player that Canada has ever produced. Legendary as a lacrosse player. but that sport doesn't pay anything. So you're the best player in your sport, bar none, but it's a sport that doesn't pay money. That's got to be a bit frustrating.
Did you ever play it I know Danny did a little bit.
Yeah, no, I didn't. No.
Neither did I. I always thought it would be cool, but I don't even know that I've ever, twirled a lacrosse stick. Is that what it's called? A stick?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. No, there's been lacrosse sticks in this house ever since Dan was like 6 years old. He played in the Brampton Minor Lacrosse League, and yes, I played catch with him many times, many hours, and it's fun.
Yeah, it seems like it would be kind of fun. Back to legacy athletes and how much pressure it must be if your father's name is, Jack Nicklaus, Bobby Orr, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods' kid. And back to, just for park that for a second, when you were talking about the Gretzkys, I've always thought, what if the one brother didn't come along? How good was Brett Gretzky? Was he,
no, he never made it. No, never made it.
But part of that, it's got to be the pressure of living up to or being compared with. And that's what I was saying about Tiger's kid. Tiger's kid, is an exceptional little golfer. But I don't think he's, I don't know that I would want that for your kid. To have to be compared to...
Oh, tough.
And when Jack Nicklaus was Jack Nicklaus, yeah, there was video and there was sport, there was televised golf, but not like now. There's every shot Tiger Woods ever hit, you can go look it up. And in our modern era, it's I think it's a lot of pressure on a kid like Charlie Woods, no matter how good he ends up being.
Yeah. Do you think he'll be on the PGA Tour?
No, I don't.
No, eh? Oh, okay.
No, I don't think he's got that kind of talent. I think he's talented. Rudra says Keith Gretzky. Brent is Eric Lindros' brother, right?
Oh, right. I'm sorry, Keith Gretzky. Yes.
Rudra Rishi Maharaj. I miss you, Rudy. I want to get together with you and have some food. He says Keith and Wayne Gretzky still hold the record for most points by siblings in the NHL. Keith has about 3.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a really funny stat. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, Eric Lindros' brother Brent.
Oh, by the way, speaking of messages we get from people, and again, this changes the subject a bit, but on our subject the other day of expensive restaurants like the Harry's Steakhouse you talked about.
Yeah.
And the steaks $100 each. I had gotten a message from Freddie Ball. Fred Ball. Get a load of this. He says, 20 years ago, Nancy and I went to Alain Ducasse's restaurant in Paris, and dinner for 2 was $1,500.
Wow.
Well, they saw you coming, Ball. Oh, man. Why would you even walk in the doors? But hey, it's an experience. Can you imagine that? That's $750 each. What do you buy the table? What's the deal? Wow.
I can't remember if I was having this conversation with you or my friend on the weekend when we were talking about the expense of this restaurant. I was telling her a story of some people I was with the week before at this fancy golf course where a bunch of rich people are playing, and my friend was telling me about a dinner that they went out for, and a bunch of corporate guys, big, rich hedge fund style money, and there was 8 of them at this table, and somebody bought a $1,500. No, that's wrong. A $1,200 bottle of wine. Now, I don't know what could make some. Yes, I understand that there's a rarity and it's this and it's that, but I don't think I could appreciate. Listen, when I drank wine, I couldn't appreciate a $50 bottle of wine. I got the difference that there's a $10 and there's a $20, but I was served a $100 bottle of wine, a glass of it, and it made no difference to me. And I said to this person who was telling me the story, if somebody in those days when I drank said, here's a glass of $1,200 wine, it would be lost. Like again, I don't know how rich you have to be where you can just throw around, like, we're going to spend $1,200 on the next bottle.
Mm-hmm. See what it tastes like. Yeah. $1,200. What's that taste like? Get one. Let's see. Must be nice, I guess. But are those people happy, Howard? Are those people really happy who have that kind of money?
Just got a message here from Edmonton Steve, who is actually living in Victoria, BC right now. He says, hi, Courtney, is my brother, for you people who don't know, is a comedy producer, although he never put me on a show. He says, hi, Courtney was on Roast Battle Canada when we did them in Burlington during the pandemic. She did very, very well. The new sentence, very funny. Thank you, Victoria, Steve.
Jesus Christ, man.
I know. Well,
it's only 6 there now.
He likes to get up early.
Well, I guess. Best part of the day, people say, Howard.
That's right.
Best part of the day. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't. If again, Ball has crazy money, but if I don't know what could happen at a $1,500 meal.
Well,
unless you go off to a private room.
Like how many courses? Yeah, private room.
Like, in the middle of dinner, somebody takes you to a private room and there's like a handy J or,
yeah,
you get a massage.
Yeah. Like 1,500. And obviously that's 1,500 Canadian, but still I have to ask him. I'm just waiting for an update. What was the motivation, Fred? Like, obviously, you're a smart guy. You knew when you walked in there what it was going to cost you. What was the motivation? Because we all have our limits. It would be, do I want an Alain Ducasse meal? Yeah, I'd really like to try one. Well, it's $1,500 for 2. Nah, I don't think so.
Listen, man, I remember the night we all went out, you, Doll, and me, and we went to that place, and we found out that the dish you ordered was, how much was it? Like $200?
No, I think it was $160 or something.
Well, it was north.
Or was it $250?
It was two. It was in the twos, I think.
Right. Yes.
And because on the menu it said market price, and what is it you ordered?
It was a lobster risotto.
Yeah, and it was close ridiculous. To $200. Mm-hmm. Like, for me, again, if someone said, "Hey, you've got a chance to go," I don't know, Gordon Ramsay's a private function, and it's a $1,500 for 2 people. I don't know. I don't even think I could appreciate food that was $1,500.
No, yeah. Again, I wouldn't be tasting it properly
unless somebody else. It would be different if it was like somebody else bought us.
Like if Ball and I went to Paris together and he wanted to buy me that dinner,
that's right. Oh yeah, remember that time you and Fred Ball went on a romantic trip to Paris, and Fred said to you,
"I'll never forget it."
He said, "Fred, what's that, Fred Ball? I would like to take you to what's the place called?
Alain
Catis."
Alain Ducasse's.
Alain Ducasse's, Fred, you will enjoy
that's how you,
a $1,500 meal. And then we would look at the Seine in romantic... I don't know.
Just think of all the things I could do with that $1,500. I forget. Where's the Sistine Chapel? Is that Rome? I can't remember. Like, I went up to the Sistine Chapel and I thought the admission was too much, so I passed. I thought, I'll look at the pictures. That's the type of guy I am.
That's not true.
It's absolutely true.
Come on.
Yeah.
You passed up to go to see the Sistine Chapel because it was too much money?
Yep.
Well, that's crazy.
I did.
Well,
no, I know.
Well, you're...
But ask me if I regret that move.
I don't know. I don't. I'm guessing you don't.
No.
I'm guessing you don't. Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, it's the same for me. I get asked this all the time. Would I go? Do I want to play Pebble Beach, or would I play this other famous golf course or that one? And my answer is always the same. Like, if I would love to play that golf course maybe once, before I die. But every year that I don't do it, it gets more expensive. I was on the Pebble Beach property with Spencer. We were on a daddy-daughter trip to California. This is 2015. And on my way on the Pacific Coast Highway or whatever, we stopped at Pebble Beach. I went in the pro shop at that time to find out what it would cost. It was $500 US a round. Mm-hmm. Now it's like $800, and you've got to be staying on the property or whatever. And it's just not worth it to me. By the way, Niblet's here. Dan, there's been a delay because the Nibs has been trying to figure out some technical issues. So you're welcome to stay. You just, darken your screen.
Okay, I'll darken my screen.
Darken your screen.
I'll darken my screen.
And I'll just finish by saying, Freddie, like I'm not so enamored with a famous golf experience that I would spend $800 to play the golf course. Now I say that now.
Yeah, no, and honestly, I'm a little bit surprised by that because I would think golf, stretched over 4 hours and a course you've always heard about and your passion that you might just sort of treat yourself to something like that. Like I can see that way before spending that much on a meal.
No, absolutely. I get that. And when I say that, why I said is I say that now, but there might come a time, where I say to the Nibs, hey, can I carve off? Dan, are you going to blacken your screen, or are you just going to sit there staring?
No, I was just going to say that the Sistine Chapel's in Vatican City, which is in Rome.
Oh, okay.
It's 20
Thank you for that.
to get 20 euros.
No, Fred didn't want to spend that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No. And he's righteous.
Yeah, I can look at the pictures.
With compound interest, I'm sure Nibs can tell you how much you've saved for your retirement.
Oh, yeah, that 20 euros,
But I paid to go into the Anne Frank house, and I really enjoyed that.
And she wasn't even...
I found that more intriguing.
And she wasn't even there.
No, she wasn't even there.
She wasn't
Just
home.
my luck. She was on tour.
All right, come on. Come on, boys. Get away from... We can't have this nonsense talk near the Nibs, the Sherpa Derpa. Okay. Here we go. Finally. Making his return, his triumphant return to the Humble and Fred program, the OG Sherpa, Tim.Niblet at RaymondJames.ca. Good sir. Where you been, my friend?
Good morning, everybody. We were just having the joys of driving to Florida last week, and we're here safe and sound hanging with our good buds. And being really brilliant, I accidentally turned my computer off as I was repositioning it to talk to you guys, so that worked really well.
Well, it seems to be
Timmy,
fine now.
During, what was it? What was the last hurricane? Milton or whatever? Was that
Milton,
the last one?
Yep.
I was looking, and without giving it away, I saw it was barreling right for where you live in Florida, so you came through it okay? Everything fine?
Yeah, thanks. We were really fortunate. It's hard to feel good when, a lot of other people weren't as fortunate. Mm-hmm. But just, the lay of the land here, we're just far enough away from the water. We're only about 5 miles, I think, inland, but was fortunate yet again, thankfully.
Oh, good for you.
Well, I'm glad you're down there safe and sound, and it's great to have you back with us. And it's a lot of stuff going on in the markets these days. The U.S. economy seems to be doing fine. Ours as well. Interest rates in Canada are going down. And is that an opportunity for people? Is there a way that people listening can profit from those kind of things?
Well, I'd suggest that everything has an opportunity, right? Regardless of what's going on, it's.
Tim just froze up there.
Never that work better. And the one thing that's really been the cornerstone of our portfolios for years, thankfully so much the last 5 years, is the Sherpa style investing, where we just really emulate what pension and endowment funds do, especially right now, Howard, with the interest rates going down, and look to continue to do that. Whether people should have GICs to begin with in a long-term plan is another issue, but the rates are going down and down and down, so they're even less attractive now. And there's plenty of things you can do that's fully secured, that's really solid, that hasn't gone down in decades, that returns a lot more than that.
Like bonds, are they different in a different way and a different security?
So this is separate than bonds. We don't use bonds really at all for our clients. Okay. But yeah, bonds compared to a GIC, Fred, their rates would be going down too. But if you own a bond at 5% and now they're only paying 4%, well, it's worth more because it's paying out more. So there's an inverse relationship we get taught in Economics 101 between the direction of the interest rates and the values of bonds. So right now, yes, bonds would be paying a bit less, but their value would be going up. You know, that's sort of like a lot of my buds down here, not a lot, a few, whatever, will buy energy stocks because they pay good dividends, right? They're in retirement, so they want the dividends. They're buying dividends. Well, it doesn't work real well if the value of the stock goes down 20% at the same time. So all of these pieces of the puzzle, of course, matter.
Well, you put down companies' profitability as something to watch as it relates to interest rates. How does it relate?
Well, I mean, as the markets would show, especially this last year or so, the companies are making lots of money already. But, you know, if the cost of capital goes down, if the interest rates go down, then the money that they borrow, a lot of times they'll do private deals too, right? Just direct to consumers, so to speak. They can pay less for that. So that helps them be more profitable. So that should relate into a stock price going up.
And tax always plays a part in all of this, correct?
Well, we know exactly how tax laws work. You know, we may as well take the gimmies, as we say. And yeah, you guys had a great talk with Jay last week about the power of margin. You know, one thing you didn't get around to is every dollar you pay for interest to borrow money to invest is fully taxable, whereas the growth could be set up so that it's in equities and stocks, so it's capital gains. So most of it's even deferred, and when you do pay it, you only pay on half of it. So a little fun with numbers deal is you could pay 4%, make 3%, and break even on the deal just because of the taxes. So you can imagine if you make more than what you're paying, then you really come out ahead.
Another reason that we always say the same thing about you and, of course, Sherpa Jay, that it's worth having a conversation. If something in this conversation piqued your interest, we recommend getting a hold of the guys. Tim's easy to remember, tim.niblett at raymondjames.ca. It doesn't cost you anything to give them a call. And at least get them to have a look at what's going on with your portfolio. I know we don't like to get political with you because, you know, you have citizens. You're equally at home in both countries, but you've been back in Florida for, I guess, a week now. What's any feeling amongst your friends? What's the vibe? Or is it pretty much Trump country down there?
Thankfully, not solely, but there's a few more than I'd like to interact with. I got the insane asylum thing from a buddy the other day.
What do you mean?
And then yesterday we went over to visit some pals, super nice people in their 80s. Anyhow, just great folk. They've got their I voted today stickers on, and he says, I won't tell you who I voted for because you're not going to like it. So, and then later on last evening, saw some people at the bar, guys from Michigan. He goes, hey, we might have to move up and see us. So we've had it all already.
Right. All angles, yeah.
Well, as always, all the angles are covered with the Retirement Sherpa. It's great to have you there. I'm glad you got there safely, and thanks for another week.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Great seeing you guys. Apologize on your schedule there, Dan. I would have rather looked at you than the blank screen all that time, but enjoy and profit all. Have an awesome day.
Timmy, you're a good one.
You're a good man,
right.
Tim.
All right, buddy.
I have no idea what Dan Duran does with all his money. He's probably got he doesn't, he doesn't trust like Google and things like that. He's probably got it.
No.
Do you have it behind a woodshed out there at the lake? Is it buried somewhere?
It's in the mattress. That's why the mattress is so uncomfortable.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Dan
all
Duran.
little sections here and there.
Dan Duran socked it all away.
Do you think that term comes from socks? You sock it away? You put it in
probably.
the socks somewhere? You think? Okay.
Huh.
All right.
That's a good question. I wonder where that comes from.
Well, that's a good. That's a good.
It's a good.
That's a good.
No, I was just pondering that.
You were mid ponder. I know. I like it.
Why in a sock?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Suck it to you. Suck it to you.
Daniel.
Where's that come from?
Well,
Rona Martin's laughing. Rona Martin's laughing. Suck it to me, baby. Suck it to me. Suck it to me, baby. Let it all hang out.
Okay. Dan. Dan.
You don't remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Reminiscing again.
Let's hear you say it. Let's hear you say it.
No, I don't want to because I find it... I found it tiresome.
Come on, let's hear you say "sock it to me, baby."
Fucking sock it to me, baby. Why don't you do some more fucking references from the late '60s? Dan.
Oh, sorry for living.
Sorry for being alive.
Yeah.
Why don't you do something Artie Johnson said?
Very interesting. Oh, he would have been good on this show. He would have been good.
We should get it.
On this show, he would have loved our beer.
Very interesting. Dan, are you... Dan.
Yes.
Are you emotionally ready?
Absolutely.
To do the news?
You know me.
All right.
Now, here's to a fella named Dan Duran, a hell of a guy with a hella big wang, the quintessential anchor man. His voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman comes. As for credentials, he has none. Can't tell a headline from his bum, but his voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman's here. He's prone to falling off his chair, but he's got a big wang, so he don't care, and his voice is nice and low.
My voice is nice and low.
And now live from Mr. and Mrs. Duran's home that has apparently some fall bouquet in the front.
They're chrysanthemums.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Chrysanthemums is one of our...
That's fantastic.
On our Facebook feed there.
Here he is.
Yeah.
Dan Duran, the anchor man. Dan.
Well,
sorry,
that wasn't my steam there.
That wasn't my usual introduction.
Yeah,
I got tired.
Let's start with some headlines. Putin rented North Korean troops that are now fighting in the Ukraine. If you're keeping track, last night's Kamala Washington rally drew 75,000, which is more than the 53,000 for the Trump insurrection crowd. And someone unvaulted an unknown Chopin piece. And the New York Times, you've heard of the New York Times, they got Lang Lang to play it. Lang Lang, famous concert pianist. Sounds like this.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
So what happened again? Explain that to me.
Well, they some vault somewhere, they had a piece of Chopin music they didn't really know was Chopin, and then somebody pulled it out and recognized it and said, "Oh, hey, wow, this has never been recorded or revealed." Is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed everything you said. Say it all over again.
What?
Like
okay,
they
found like finding old Beatles songs or something.
Yeah, it would be like that. It's 200 years old. And nobody knew it existed,
and it's brand new music from an old artist. That's cool.
That's right. I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
It is interesting.
I do.
It is interesting.
I do too, Dan.
I found it interesting. I just was trying to find something else, and then I blanked out for a second. It happens.
You speak of my stories from the 50s and 60s. In 1957, we moved onto a street in Scarborough called Chopin Avenue, and it was right off Mozart.
Oh.
Believe it or not, I grew up with 3 Chopin Avenue.
When you say believe it or not, I'm like, yeah, I believe it. I believe it. It sounds like, you know what? It sounds very plausible. Dan, that was a great story and of interest.
Right. But that was a headline. Here's the real story.
Oh, I'm sorry. That wasn't your news?
No, I just threw that in.
You're doing so much.
Yeah, too much maybe. Huh?
No, it's just the right amount. No. It's a very good amount.
Costco getting into the booze business on Thursday.
Yes.
All 31 Ontario locations are getting a beer and wine section, as all grocery stores can sell beer and wine starting on Halloween. And this system replaces the old beer licensee agreement with grocery stores. So now stores set their own prices. Interesting, though, fewer than 15% of the eligible stores have actually applied, which seems to have something to do with a rule that they have to accept bottle returns, which apparently
that's the problem. Yes,
for grocery stores is a bit of a health issue because they have to isolate the dirty bottles from the meat and the produce and all the stuff that, that bugs and things that get into beer bottles or wine bottles or whatever.
Bottles.
Yes, this has become a big issue. The the on the runs, the little corner stores now that can now sell beer and wine. What the beer in particular with the empties? I mean, shouldn't they have to do their part?
Like when you're saying that the Circle K over here has to take back the empties?
Well, I don't know. There's a big issue about that right now because if you buy it there and then take it back to the beer store, there's some conflict. It's something that's popped up that maybe they didn't think of before. Another question I would have about Costco and beer, like in the United States and in Quebec, it's somewhat cheaper in Costco. Will that be allowed to happen in Ontario? Yes. Will they be allowed to undercut prices?
Yep.
Wow.
Well, how does that work?
They're allowed to set their own prices. I think I was worried that the store in Lakefield or something is going to charge way more, but I was talking to the manager there. He didn't think that would be the case. Probably it's a
roll back, but back to what Fred was saying about Costco. I thought the pricing of booze in Ontario was
pretty fixed,
universal
up until now.
Oh, okay.
It's not fixed for the grocery stores. So the agency stores that were, the LCBO agency stores that can sell hard liquor, those all fall under the LCBO rules. So whatever the LCBO pricing is.
So you're saying that a store like Costco or something like a grocery store could actually undercut the LCBO on a bottle of wine?
Yeah.
What is that ding? What just went ding? Was that you or?
No, that was me. Yeah.
Because there's going to be like
they'll probably
sell like in Costco, of course, they'll probably sell 30 packs, the largest ones, because that's what they do. I'll be anxious to see exactly how much less in a Costco than a beer store a 30 pack would be.
Well, hopefully not too anxious. Like where you get nervous.
I suffer with anxiety.
Really?
Costco anxiety?
Here, all I know is Dan Duran, the man that I've been friends with since 1978. If one of our computers went ding during a broadcast, after the show, we would be chastised.
I'm so sorry. Let me explain.
True. Wait a second. Is that true? Is that not true, Frederick? We would be chastised.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You're right. I should have figured out. I should have closed my. What happened was an email came in, but it's the same computer that was playing the Chopin piece.
Do you want to? So I have a mouse. You want to borrow it? Don't apologize. You know what? On this program, there's no one needs to say sorry. It's the whole thing. We should apologize.
Right. Okay.
We should have you read an apology at the beginning and the end of every show. There's no need to apologize.
We apologize in advance.
In advance and in retrospect. The whole thing is
Howard, you're so good on the trigger there with the songs and everything. There was a 1980s CFY classic, a band called Gazebo, and the song was called I Like Chopin. I fucking love that song. Just thought of it. Anyway, do you remember that?
I never played it. I don't recall it at all, but here it is. Yeah, this is way before my time.
Yeah, this had the 1980s drum machine.
Yeah, no, exactly. Has a real strange advance vibe to it.
Yeah, and I think this goes on before the lyrics start.
Oh, it does? Hang on a second. Let me just move it along. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, this has a real Kennedy Road feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
I like Chopin. Love me now.
Yeah, memory music for this lad.
Speaking of memories, this just in from Facebook. Nancy Ball, who is, one of the nicest people.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the nicest.
In that category, she says, because I mentioned that the Balls have crazy amounts of money. She goes, oh no, we do not have crazy money. Ha ha ha. I will say that it was a special anniversary thing we did. This is the $1,500 meal. At she said they did escort me to the ladies' room. I was a little nervous. I was a little worried then, but it was an experience, and I will never forget it. Well, you know what? Now that Nancy Ball has put it in perspective for us, how can you argue?
No, you can't. You know what? Here's the way I live. Each to their own. If you want to spend $1,500 on a meal, all the power to you. All right?
Oh, yeah. That's right. You're Mr. Each to their own.
Just don't ask me to throw my card.
That's right. Don't ask me to throw in 20 to go see the Sistine fucking Chapel. I can look at it a postcard. Hey, here's a little fun for you, Fred.
Not that time. Let me have it. I'm ready.
Come on, Judy. Open your eyes. There's no socket to me anymore.
There isn't.
Oh, Judy Carr.
You wouldn't leave me on, would you?
Why, of course not. This once, fellas, let's spare our...
Well, by the way, and one of them is smoking a cigarette during the show.
Blameless Moffat from these unending indignities, to which, Judy, I must say you have displayed amazing fortitude and endurance. You have held in there no matter what they've done to you, and you've taken it all, never a whimper.
Dan, it's...
Okay, let's just get to
bored,
it.
You know,
I thought we were going to get to a soft... Okay, anyway, she gets sockatumied.
Judy Carn.
Judy Carn, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
We basically escaped today's show without much Trump stuff. I just want to play one clip of him. We are 1 week away from one of the biggest elections in our lifetimes. And here he is talking about his favorite subject.
When they endorsed me, they said he's the greatest president on the border, but he's the greatest president overall that we've ever had. I said, Mike, does that include...
Now, this is the part I like. So, because this sounds like something a 7-year-old would say. I'll go back again. He goes, does that include...
Does that include... I said to him... They said he's the greatest president we've ever had. And then one of them said, sir, you're the greatest president of my lifetime. I said, I like the first one more that we've ever had. I said, so greatest president that we've ever had. I said, does that include Abe Lincoln? Yes, sir. Does that include George Washington? Yes, sir. I said, that's good, right? But they also said, I mean, more importantly for purposes of this, they said the best border president, and without question.
Have in your lifetimes, in your lifetimes, have you ever heard a president? No. I could play another clip where he talked about his hair for 25 seconds. But that's your guy. Anyway, that's the end of today's show. Tomorrow it's all about emails and participation from the listeners. Dan, and this is our second. Pardon?
I just said yes. We appreciate the participation of our listeners,
and this is the second.
If you want to send us an email, you can. Yeah.
Who, Dan?
You can send us emails.
Dan, if you send us an email, we'll read it.
We'll read it.
Oh, really? All right.
I just want to point out too that we are doing a second 4-banger. This is like day 3, and yeah.
Yeah, don't expect a lot of quality tomorrow. Then.
Oh no, we're spent.
Yeah,
I don't think there was. I don't think there was much quality on today's program, but
yeah. Well, we're phoning it in, kind of, right? What are you doing?
I'm just getting ready to say goodbye. I'm trying to find the say goodbye theme and make sure I've got it ready.
Farewell
to you and you and you.
Ooh, lolly golly.
Zoom, zoom.
Oh, sorry. That's from the 60s, too, is it not?
Oh, stop. I was kidding you. Don't get sad. I enjoy your little 60s reference.
Now I'm going to be self-conscious every time I talk about the 60s.
I've said that to you before. When you fucking do Sakatumi references. Listen, you started with some Jewish folk music. How can I argue with you? What do I have to say?
Where else are you going to get that?
That's right.
Nowhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. For a reason.
You don't get that with Rosin Mocha. Dan. Dan, I know you've got to go do something.
Yeah, I got to get up to the lake. I got stuff to do. It's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day, and I hope everyone gets a chance to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And Dan,
the leaves.
Thank you for your participation.
Okay, great.
Thanks to the Retirement Sherpa. Thanks to Courtney Gilmour. And thanks to you. Each and every
this
one.
Episode.
We appreciate Faked you out. Faked you out.
Yeah.
All right.
Did.
Sorry, Dan. Please continue with your extra.
You done?
Yeah.
Clear?
Yes. Now here's Dan Durant.
This episode of the legendary Humble and Fred Show was brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Boron One, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. For contests and comments, we read all of the emails. Email show coming up tomorrow. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. Tell us what you think. And here's something you can do. Help us out by subscribing, sharing an episode, maybe even rating a podcast. Or this podcast, actually, is the line. I mean, from the Julie Mazzoni Zoom Theater, I'm Dan Duran. And remember, we apologize for anything that happened on the show. We are also sorry about Charles the Gorilla passing, but not sorry about bare boobs on the screen. Now, enjoy every goddamn day.
That was a good drum break. Pick yourself up off the side of the road with the elevator poles and your whip flash.